recording. So let me jump into the bio real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first FADA event where I'm your host as well as Professor Dr. J.L. Adolph, representing FADA, which is Faculty of African Diaspora Association. And so we have a special guest. I'm honored to bring Dr. Sheena Howard with Power Your Research, who's going to show us how to monetize our research, show us how to get our coins outside of the world of academia, and trying to boost our media presence so that we can go ahead and bring our scholarship to the to a broader audience and that sort of thing. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read the bio and just give, and then I will shrink myself and allow the star of this event to illuminate and shed light on how we can power our research. So with that being said, Dr. Howard is an award-winning author, filmmaker, and scholar. In 2014, Sheena became the first Black woman to win an Eisner Award for her first book, Black Comics: Politics of Race and Representation. The Eisner Awards are considered the Oscars of comics. She is also the author of several critically acclaimed books and comics. In 2017, Sheena published the Encyclopedia of Black Comics, which is the first book of its kind, profiling 100 Black people in the comics industry. The Encyclopedia of Black Comics was named the 2018 American Library Association Outstanding Reference Source. In 2014, Sheena published Black Queer Identity Matrix and Critical Articulations of Race, Gender, and Sexual Orientation. She is also the co-writer of the comic book Superb, about a teenage superhero with Down syndrome. I got to definitely check that one out. She has appeared on NPR, ABC, BBC, and PBS, as well as other networks and documentaries as an expert on popular culture, politics, and social justice. Sheena is the subject of the 2018 Emmy-nominated episode of State of the Arts, which airs on NJTV and WHYY. In 2016, Sheena directed, produced, and wrote the documentary Remixing Colorblind, which explores the ways the educational system shapes our perceptions of race. Parts of the documentary was filmed at West Catholic High School in Philadelphia, Lehigh University, and Drexel University. The film premiered at the Ritz Landmark Theater in Philadelphia. Sheena organized and hosted a talk about race in education at the Philadelphia Main Library in 2017 as part of her documentary tour, in which proceeds from the event went to local non-for-profit organization. Sheena has twice received a proclamation from the city of Philadelphia for her literary work, social justice, and creative projects. And today, she is going to grace Georgia State University, and for our graduate students, for our professors, for our tenure professors, and for everyone, she is going to grace the stage and show us all how to power our research. So power our research. So give it up for Dr. Sheena Howard.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I am excited about this. I'm going to give you so much value in the next approximately 50 minutes. So if you're watching this, I highly suggest you take out a pen and a pad. This is going to be information that you want to execute on as soon as we get off of this session. So I don't need to go back over my bio, but I do want to focus on my academic branding company, Power Your Research, which is a platform for academics to help them increase their visibility, authority, and income without the expense of a publicist. So what we're going to be talking about today is how you can take the work that you love, the research that you do, your area of expertise, and learn how to make impact at scale, and along the way monetize that impact. And so I know a lot of us got into the world of academia in order to change the lives of people. And unfortunately, a lot of us have already realized that our work sometimes gets stuck behind an academic paywall. And I am here to teach you how to reach the masses and get your work from behind an academic paywall. So we're going to talk about the 5 keys to building an incredible brand for academics. And we are going to skip that bio that you see on this screen because I had such a wonderful introduction and I want to jump right into it, everybody. So this is the Power Your Research roadmap to increase visibility, authority, and income. And the reason why I am starting here is to contextualize what we're going to talk about today, the 5 action items that we're going to be able to talk about today. And so Power Your Research takes you through a 9-step system. I'm going to share 5 tactics today out of this system. But so you know, here are the general steps that you can even start executing on today. So the first is mindset. We're going to talk about a high point of each of these steps before I take a deep dive into 5 key areas. So the first is mindset. You know, if you want to increase your visibility, you want to make impact at scale, and you want to charge more for speaking engagements, consult opportunities, and all of those things, you have to have the right mindset. And unfortunately, higher education tends to make us forget that we actually have value outside of higher ed. We actually have value outside of the classroom. And so mindset is all about not being scared to have a set speaking engagement rate and charge that rate for your time and for your worth. It's all about understanding that you can do consulting in your area of expertise and you can charge for it. It's also about getting around a group of people that are supportive in your desire to do things like TED Talks, to get out there and be on NPR talking about your academic book, talking about your work, talking about your dissertation. This is oftentimes different than what your colleagues would have you do. We've all heard, or at least I've heard people say, hey, if you're on TV and if you're on NPR, you're not doing real research. That is not true. And so we have to work through that mindset in academia, particularly because we all know higher ed is actually becoming more unstable. You know, I like to joke by saying that, you know, getting a tenure track job is almost like trying to get to the NFL at this point. So many universities have decreased the number of tenure track lines. And so we have so much to offer. And I want you to be out there in the world, leaving a legacy, making an impact so that your work is just not for people that have access to journal articles. The second step on this roadmap is thinking about your vision. So likely if you're watching this, you are an academic and a lot of your goals are academic focused. I need to finish that thesis. I need to finish that dissertation. I need to get a tenure track job. Then I need to get tenure, right? So it goes on and on and on. But this roadmap and what I'm teaching you today is to just take a step back and think about your goals outside of academia. You have a purpose, mission, and vision that might include academia. Pretty obviously that it does, but it also includes making an impact in the world outside of academia. So step 2 asks you to do the work to take a step back for a second and think about 2 things. What you want your life to look like 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. Do you want your life to look like your chairperson's life? If that doesn't look appealing to you, then you don't have to go down that path. Do you want to go administration? A lot of us have a tendency when we get tenure, we realize that, oh my goodness, you know, I really can't make any more money, because once you get tenure and then once you get full professor, you realize that's the pay ceiling. There's nothing else after that unless you go administration. And so you start doing things that might not necessarily be in line with your vision, mission, and purpose. And that's kind of what happened to me. I am a full professor. I saw everybody go down that higher ed track. I didn't want to go down that track. It wasn't aligned with my soul. And so the roadmap that you see here, this is 10 years in the making. This is 10 years in the making. It has not only helped me to protect my future, it's helped dozens and dozens and dozens of other academics. So get clear on your vision. The second thing about your vision is really understanding what amplifying your platform looks like for you, because that looks different for everybody. Listen, I've been on places like the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, and people are like, Sheena, why do you want to go on that show? It's a hip hop show. You don't do anything in hip hop. You also have to think about creatively borrowing audiences. So I do work on comics. For those of you that don't know, my dissertation was actually on the Boondocks comic strip. I write comic books and all of that good stuff. And there is a correlation between comics and hip hop. So I knew that the audience that tunes into the Breakfast Club has overlap with the audience that would care about my work and research. So you have to think creatively about what amplifying your platform looks like for you, and have that vision and those goals so that you can use the rest of the things that I'm talking to you about today to actually land those media placements and the vision that you see for yourself that's connected to your purpose and mission. The third step in this roadmap is brand building. So you want things like a brand statement, brand adjectives, and a brand archetype. Now, what we are going to go through today in a second is creating your brand statement. We're going to go through an exercise with you. I'm going to teach you how to get a brand statement, and we'll walk you through the formula for that. So stay tuned. Step 4 is media strategy. We're going to talk about media strategy and media placement today, so you have some take-home action items to be able to get media coverage without paying a publicist thousands of dollars. You do not need a publicist for any of this. You know, I've been on NPR, ABC, BBC, and I learned how to pitch myself to those places using tried and true systems that in which some of that I will talk to you about today. We talk about something called a media blitz in the Power Your Research program. And really what this is once you get a handle on getting media coverage and visibility, landing on, mid-level, high-level outlets, even your local media outlets, that's a great place to start. We'll talk about that soon. Creating a media blitz is just taking all of this media coverage and repurposing it on social media so it looks like a media frenzy on your social media pages. So for example, I did the Breakfast Club interview in 2016. That was a while ago. But I can go to Instagram and share a clip of that Breakfast Club interview, and people will think I just did it yesterday. Oh my gosh, congratulations. Because when you post things on social media, only a very small percentage of people see it. And you do actually have to post old content. So a media blitz is, once you get some media coverage under your belt, repost those things in a week's time span, and it'll create sort of a media frenzy on your page. People will start to pay attention, and that has a compounding effect, which we will get into as we go through this presentation. And then the last phase that you want to think about as an academic are these last 3 steps, which is monetization. And this is super important because I know a lot of you want to, being altruistic makes you feel good, but guess what? If you want to make impact at scale, you have to make money. If you want to continue making impact at scale, you need to make money so that more people can find you and so that you can help and impact more people. And so you want a system to get consistent speaking engagements, which we won't be able to talk about in depth in this particular session, but of course at the Q&A portion, if you have questions around that, we can dig in. I'll definitely leave room for questions at the end. But this last phase is about building equity in your brand. So you hear people today talk about income streams. You need multiple income streams. And that sounds exhausting. Nobody wants a hustle. Nobody wants a side hustle. I don't even use these terminology that sound exhausting. Having a side hustle sounds exhausting, right? You need 2 strong methods of monetization, and that's it. And you need to focus on those 2. So this Power Your Research is not about telling you to leave academe and don't be a professor or don't be a lecturer. None of that is saying that you have everything that you need right now to go out into the world and make impact outside of the small community of your campus. And I believe that the people that need to hear about your work need that from you so that you can leave your legacy and so that you can change lives no matter what your PhD or master's degree is in. And for the graduate students that are watching this, this is a great time to start thinking about these things because, right, you don't want to be 10 years down the line and start doing this work. The quicker you get started and at least thinking about it, the further ahead you will be. I've been building my brand since my first article publication in grad school at Howard University. My first article publication was on the rhetorical style of President Barack Obama, and it ended up actually in like USA World News. They actually did a little piece on my research article, and from there I saw how powerful it was for my work to be outside of just the campus of Howard University, which I was at the time. And so very important, step 9, it says protect your future, and that is exactly what I mean. You know, I am at a small private university. My university has been super supportive, but we've also had financial struggles for the entire 10 years that I've been there. And I really, once I saw faculty getting laid off and those types of things, I really was like, man, it's exhausting feeling like I might be laid off and I'll have no income coming into my household if this cushy tenure job does not pan out. And I know people with tenure like to say they have a job for life, but you don't. Your program could close. Your department can close. And this is not hyperbole. You can look it up. Private universities close all the time. And so I have fortunately been able to get to a place that building my brand pays me more than my university can pay me anyway. And the beautiful thing is you can get there too because there's so many free and low cost tools around us today. It's just that our academic and educator friends do not know how to use those tools properly. But you can see online that the digital marketers that are using our academic research, they know how to use those tools properly. They're writing bestseller books. They're making millions. And if you read a lot of these, particularly self-help books, they're using academics research. And so it's no reason why you can't do that either. And that is why I created this program. One, because I'm tired of people with master's degrees and PhDs living paycheck to paycheck, feeling the job instability, not being able to get tenure track positions, understanding that now that they're in higher ed, you know, the pay is not all that it's cracked up to be. And the second reason why I created this program is, listen, I believe that the world is a better place when people with areas of expertise are the ones with the microphone. The people with the master's degrees, the PhDs that put in the work, that dedicated 9 years to studying the thing that they are an expert in. I believe the world's a better place when they have the microphone, as opposed to somebody that's just good at digital marketing and digital media. So let's get into these 5 keys so I can give you some of the real good stuff that you came here for. So key number 1 is your brand statement. So as I said in that roadmap, you want to have your brand assets. One of the key pieces of that is your brand statement, and this is crucial. So let me contextualize this for you a little bit. Your brand statement is like your North Star, okay? Without a brand statement, distractions look like opportunities to you, okay? And I know as someone in academia, you get asked to do a lot of things. Can you be on this committee? Can this person pick your brain? Can you talk to this person? Can you do X, Y, and Z? And you're saying yes to far too many things. When you have a brand statement, when something comes across your desk or your email, you ask yourself one question. Does this align with my brand statement? If the answer is no, you tell the person, hey, this is like an amazing opportunity. I actually know somebody in my network that'll be perfect for this, but I can't do this at that time, because a brand statement is going to give you the clarity to understand the difference between an opportunity and a distraction. So let's look at this brand statement formula, and you're going to get a crack on this. Now, this is one of the things that I coach people through. It's not an easy thing to get right on the first time, but I think that you can get a good stab at it. Take a screenshot of, this screen so you can go and work on it, on your own time. But here's the formula. My brand statement is, I create experiences for free thinkers to feel empowered when they're challenging the status quo. In 5 seconds, you know who I am, what I do, and who I do it for. It is clear. I don't have to say anything else to you about who I am and why I'm here. So these fill in the blanks are the blanks that you're going to fill in right now. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper, let's try this together. The first part is I create. That first blank is one word. You want to keep that blank a little bit broad, not too specific. You want to have breathing room. So mine's is I create experiences. So you might think, maybe you're an audio person. I create audio. I create visuals. Maybe you create experiences. Maybe you create content. Those are broad enough to give you breathing room. You don't want to say I create research, because that ain't all you want to be out here doing, right? I say I create experiences because I write comic books. I write for CEOs and social impact companies. I have this Power Your Research program. I write fiction, nonfiction. So when I say I create experiences, if you're reading my stuff, my book, if you're coming to this session right now, I, in my mind, am creating an experience for you. So you want to fill in that blank spot with something broad enough to give you breathing room, but accurate enough to depict what you see yourself doing in the world or what you currently do in the world. Now that second fill in the blank, it's 2 spaces. Who do you create for? So I create experiences for free thinkers. Now this is going to be an adjective and a noun. And this is super important because any marketing person will tell you that you need to specify who your thing is for, who your stuff is for. So I create experiences for free thinkers. You might say engaged introverts, fierce advocates, engaged teachers. 2 words, an adjective that describes and a noun that specifies the type of people that you create this thing for. Okay. Now, how do you want those people to feel? And don't worry, after I get through this, I'm going to just pause for like 2 minutes to let you think through this and that kind of thing. Now, how do you want those people to feel? I want people to feel empowered. Now, this fill in the blank for me used to be inspired. I used to say I create experiences for free thinkers to feel inspired. But I tweaked it a little bit over the years because I'm like, inspired means I'm out in the world doing something and I want to be an inspiration. But empowered means I want to give you the tools, right? That's what I'm here right now doing. I'm giving you the tools, right? Maybe I'm an inspiration, but I really want to empower you and show you how. I want to show you the way. So how do you want those people to feel? Do you want them to feel excited, energized, supported, loved, right? How do you want them to feel? That last fill in the blank is 4 words or less. And this is critical, y'all, because academics tend to be wordy, right? We'll throw in the way in which when we don't really need to say the way in which, right? I know all y'all in your research articles, the way in which. So this last fill in the blank is going to be 4 words or less. This is super important because your statement needs to be concise, clear. You need to be able to remember it and communicate it to people, because when we're talking about building your brand, we're talking about your ability to communicate your research to people that have a 7th grade reading level. The average American has a 7th grade reading level. So if you can't distill this brand statement down to something short and sweet, then you're not going to be able to reach the masses. Same thing with your research articles. You need to be able to explain your research article to a child. That way you can explain it to the masses. So when they are what? So I create experiences for free thinkers to feel empowered when they are challenging the status quo. So when people are in the midst of challenging the status quo, whether that's the status quo of their family, a toxic relationship, society, their department meeting, whatever it is, I want you to feel empowered. I want you to think of one of my characters and feel empowered. I want you to think of this presentation and feel empowered, right? When you are in the state of doing that thing, that's how I want you to feel. And so that's how you want to fill in these last 4 blanks. I don't know. Like, think about music, your favorite artist. Let's say you got three artists that you really like. all of them make you feel something different, right? Drake's music don't make you feel like Rihanna's music make you feel, right? And so you turn on the music of one of those artists depending on how you feel, how you want to feel. Right? You might even do it with movies. When you want to get a good cry, you watch a movie because you need to get that cry out. And so you think about those artists depending on your state of mind. When you're driving in the car, right? You might have certain music that you rock with when you're driving in the car as opposed to when you're in the house, like meditating or something. So those last four words are state of mind. When these people are doing what, when do they need to feel this thing? So I am going to give you like just 2 minutes to jot down your brand statement. And here's the thing, we're academics, so we're overthinkers, but this is not one of those things that you should overthink. It does not have to be perfect, but you want it to feel good. When I say my brand statement, every time I say it, it reconfirms why I'm here doing this work, right? It makes me actually feel good inside, but you're not always going to get it right on the first try. So jot down in your notes. I'm going to be silent for a couple of minutes and let you take a stab at this. And if you want to, throughout this presentation, put your iteration into the chat if you like. If not, just have it on your pad for yourself, and it'll be a great starting place. And when I'm going through this exercise with my clients, I'll take them, through the explanation. They'll take a stab on it, and then we kind of just work through it. I help them with ideas. We bounce ideas off each other. I cross words out. I listen to them, and I help them with the thought process. And sometimes you got to bounce it off of people. So don't feel like you got to keep this to yourself. Ask a partner or a friend. Run it by someone you trust, to say, hey, how does this sound? Now, before we move on from your brand statement, I want you to know that your brand statement is not, think about it as something as internal and personal. It's not something that you're going to be at a cocktail party and somebody says, hey, what do you do? And you say, I create experiences for free thinkers to feel empowered when they're challenging the status quo. I don't do that. But the brand statement is the lens through which you are going to be posting on social media. Pieces of it are going to come out in who you show up as on social media. And by the way, having a brand, this is just one piece of your brand assets. Your brand, who you show up as online and in the world, it's you. It's not a fake person, right? So I know a lot of times we see these brands and we're like, I don't want to be fake. No, your brand is you. And so that's super important to understand, especially if we were to get into the work around your brand adjectives and brand archetype and that sort of thing. But your brand statement, it's connected to your mission, vision, and purpose, and it keeps you on track. So that's key number one, your brand statement. The second key, I call it an income generator baby step. Okay, because we talked about monetization is super important for me in terms of the media coverage and visibility and turning that authority and visibility into income so that you protect your future. Now, what you're looking at here is a social media strategy, and I call it the social media strategy for the busy academic. One of the problems that academics face are you're busy, but everybody's busy, right? But this helps it be more manageable for you. Now, here's how I want you to think about social media content, because one of the biggest hiccups is academics, they don't know what they post. And so they're like, I want to charge more for speaking engagements. I want to do more consulting. I want to, build my coaching program out. I look at their social media, and what do I see? The yacht that you were on the vacation you went on in December, the Christmas dinner, your feelings about President Biden, all this stuff that has nothing to do with the things you say that you want. If you look at my LinkedIn page, I'm talking about academic branding all day. I'm not talking about anything else that's going on in the world. I am only there to help my academics increase their visibility, authority, and income. If I'm talking about the holidays, I'm doing a holiday marathon video about academic branding. Okay? So here's how I want you to think about this. When we go to networking events, a lot of times what you see people do is talk about themselves. They meet people, they talk about how great they are. They talk about all of their accomplishments. Hey, I'm so-and-so, da, 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 da. But you need to go to networking events with the mindset of how can I help the people here? Because here's the thing about it. You make money when you figure out how to help people on a big scale. Isn't that great? You actually get to help people and make money, but you really have to have the mindset of wanting to help people. I'm here because I really, really, really want to help academics protect their future, use their area of expertise to make an impact. So when you go to networking events, you actually should be there to be a listener so that you can see if anything interests you, so that you can see if you can help that person. So imagine going to a networking event and you meet the CEO of, I don't know, the building that you're in, but you don't know that. And you meet that person and you just talking about yourself. And then you walk away from that exchange and somebody says, do you know who that was? That was the CEO of the person that owns this place. No, you didn't know that because you spent that whole interaction talking about yourself. And this is the same thing when you're making outreach to work with people who are a little bit ahead of you. I get this all the time. People DM me, I promise you, every week, sending me their portfolio, sending me their artwork, sending me all of their amazing things. I can't respond to that. Now, if you email me and say, hey, I'm a college student and I'm open to do an internship with you. I love your work. But now you're telling me how you can help me. So when I approach people, like I've been writing for DMC from Run DMC, legendary hip hop artist. When I emailed him, I didn't spend the first paragraph talking about how amazing I was. I said, I see you have a graphic novel line and you're writing amazing content and I want to help you. And here's how I think I can help you. And then I sent some examples of my work. See, you got it backwards. If I had just spent the whole first, I promise you, if I had just spent the whole first paragraph, I'm Dr. Howard, I'm the first Black woman to win an Eisner, and he would have trashed the email because he gets emails all the time about people telling him how great they are. And so we want to think about that concept when we're thinking about social media. And so here's the breakdown. There's help content, hub content, and hero content that you should be posting. And this actually comes from Google. Okay, this framework actually comes from Google. I didn't make this up. So help content is content that you want to post 3 to 4 times a day. Now, when I'm working with clients, I tell them, hey, try to do it 2 to 3 times a day, because that could be a little intimidating. 3 to 4 times a day is a lot. But help content, quick, easy content designed to help your target audience, right? So this could be a little tweet. So I'm a writer. So if you go to my Instagram, it's all about helping my writers and my creatives. If you go to my LinkedIn, it's all about helping my academics with branding. But if you go to my Instagram, I'm just posting helpful tips about writing all day long. So help content will be a 1-sentence thing about how you can get published without an agent, right? It might be even a screenshot of something that I posted on Twitter about how you can get over writer's block. Something quick and easy. Help content doesn't take long. It's just designed to help your target audience. That's why you can do it 2 to 3 times a day, because it doesn't involve any high level of productivity. So help content, how you can help your target audience 3 to 4 times a day. Hub content, you want to post 3 to 4 times a month. So hub content might take a little bit more time, but you want to think about it like this. Okay, a popular finance guy might do something called Market Mondays every Monday. So every Monday, you can go to this person's page and get an update on the stock market. And he's going to be there every Monday. You don't tune into his content for 2 months. When you come back on Monday, he's going to be there, showing up consistently, building that credibility, building that trust. Your favorite podcast. My favorite podcast, I like true crime. I know it's awful, but I like true crime. My favorite podcast comes out every Wednesday. Sometimes they take breaks on holidays. And I'm like, man, how you taking a break? I want my podcast every Wednesday, right? You feel a little bit sad. When you are consistent with the thing, it builds trust. And trust is critical to getting people to buy something from you. Now, as an academic, you don't want to, I try not to talk in sales terms, but when someone hires you for a speaking engagement or books you for consulting, that's what it is. It's a sale. You have in some way communicated that the person should trust you enough for their institution, their university, or them as an individual to buy something from you. Hub content is what that looks like. Something that you can do consistently the same time. And this would be like every week. So I used to on Instagram, I used to do free live coaching calls with my creative writing people every Friday. I don't do it anymore, but that is an example of hub content. Might take a little bit more time. This type of content brings in more engagement. People expect it. It builds trust. Trust is foundational to your social media strategy and to the monetization piece that we're going to talk about in a second. And then hero content is content that you're going to post 3 to 4 times a year. 3 to 4 times a year. Now, hero content tends to have more high production value. Okay, so this would be like a launch. Maybe you created a new digital course and you're going to create like a 30-second commercial for this digital course, and you hire a videographer and you get your audio down, and it has high production value. It takes a little bit more time. Product announcements, something like wow campaigns. So I'm going to launch a new digital course for my creatives in a little while called something like, writing for social change. And so I'll have to roll out that product announcement in a way that has more production value than just posting a little 1-sentence tweet about it. So hero content, it brings awareness. Hopefully it brings engagement, more high production value. That's why it's only 3 to 4 times a year. Maybe I do one live event once a year, sometimes with myself or sometimes with someone else for my Power Your Research people. And so product announcements like that, I'll spend more time creating a flyer and a link and like doing all the tech stuff and the email sequences to get people into that new live event. So again, help content, that's going to be 3 to 4 times a day. It could be something easy. Like if you go to my LinkedIn, like almost every day I'm going live about something to give you a little snippet of some academic branding advice. Sometimes it's like I log on for 5 minutes. Sometimes it's like 10 minutes, but it's super easy. It doesn't really take me much time to just turn on the computer and talk to you about something. Hub content, again, that's something that you're going to post 3 to 4 times a month. This should be something consistent that you do at the same time every week if you can. And then hero content 3 to 4 times a year. That's going to be high production value, product announcements, big campaigns, and may involve a little more tech. But as I said at the beginning of this slide, the key is you want to think about it in terms of how can you help people. When your target audience is on Google typing in their problem, how do I get over writer's block? How do I build a brand as a professor? You want your content to come up. And so as you're consistently following this format, that is what will start to happen. If someone searches academic branding on LinkedIn, or they search for writing advice on Twitter, eventually when you have enough content out there, your stuff will be able to come up. And that is a part of people following you, engaging with you, and then your ability to monetize. So let's go to key number 3, which is generating that 6-figure brand. Now, I'm not going to spend that much time on this slide. Obviously, I can't get deep into it on a 1-hour call. But here's the thing. Generating a 6-figure brand involves you selling one thing to one person through one channel. That's all you have to do is sell one thing to one person through one channel. Now, at the beginning of this presentation, I said we don't need 1 million streams of income. We just need to do 2 things really well. This is one of them, right? So, Power Your Research. Okay, it is a program for academics. This is one thing. I sell Power Your Research to academics. People ask me all the time, well, Sheena, can you just go through phase 1 with me? I don't want the whole program. I just want phase 1. The answer is no. Well, Sheena, can you just do 3 coaching calls with me? I just want this little piece. The answer is no. And they're offering me thousands of dollars. The answer is no, 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 because 1, it doesn't align with my brand statement. I want to help the maximum amount of people protect their future who have academic credentials. And me going off and doing all these other things that people are asking me to do that is outside of the program that I spent 10 years creating is a distraction. Okay, I might get a little $2,000 in the short run, but I'm not going to meet my long-term goals. I sell one thing, and I sell it to one person. So if you look on my LinkedIn, and this is getting deep into marketing a little bit, but you talk about the minimal viable audience is tenured professors. If you look at my actual roadmap that I show people on sales calls, it says a 9-step system for tenured professors. It is a very, very specific. This is important. Some of y'all are trying to sell one thing to 50 different avatars, and people looking at your content, they are confused. And I know that it can be scary to narrow down and get specific, but you have to get specific so that you can talk and speak to the psychographics of that target audience. Let me give you a quick example. Tenured professors. A lot of tenured professors, depending on the makeup of their university, they are associate professors with tenure. Now, I happen to know, because since my avatar is so small, I happen to know that associate professors with tenure are the most unhappy people on a college campus. I know this because there are researchers about it. Associate professors with tenure are the most unhappy people. And I know the reasons why, because there are research articles about it. So you see, when you have a specific type of avatar that you are speaking to, I can create content to the psychographics of that person. I can go live, and I did this a few weeks ago. I can go live with the heading, why associate professors with tenure are the most unhappy, and 3 things you can do about it. And that particular piece of content gets a lot of engagement because I know my target audience, because I can study them, and it is specific, it's niche. Now, here's the thing. You might be saying, oh man, I'm sitting in this talk and I'm not a tenured professor. But guess what? Half the people in the Power Your Research program are not tenured at all. They're not even faculty. They might be adjuncts, but they have academic credentials and they're doing other things. They're trying to figure out their life. So just because you narrow it down to a specific avatar doesn't mean you're not going to attract those other people that you can help. It just means that you are clear and specific and you can speak to the psychographics of that key avatar. Because here's the thing, when a tenured person engages with my content and then comes on a sales call with me, they are so sold because I'm literally speaking directly to them. They're like, oh my God, like I'm speaking directly to them. And so through one channel, as I said earlier, my sales funnel, my channel is LinkedIn. If you go to my Instagram page, I'm not talking about nothing academic branding. That's for my creative writers. The channel is LinkedIn. That is what the sales funnel runs through. And we'll talk about sales funnels in a second, but a sales funnel is just the path of someone finding out about you and then buying from you. It's the steps that you take people through. Okay. So generating a 6-figure brand is about selling one thing to one person through one channel and getting specific. You know, I have a lot of academics that come to me and, you know, they have their little link up on their website and they're like, hey, I'm trying to get these coaching clients. I'm like, your website is not telling people why they should buy a coaching call from you and what the transformation will be if they spend this $300 on your coaching call. You're just saying that you do DEI work. Well, DEI has a lot of different niches. You could do DEI in arts administration, DEI in human resources, DEI for nonprofits that are social impact companies, right? You got to get specific so you can speak to those specific people. So that's key number 3. Key number 4 is media coverage. Okay, so this slide, I'm going to talk about media coverage a bit conceptually because I can't really go into tactics, but the concepts are the foundation of understanding how to get media coverage. So all of these places on this screen, I've been able to be on. I've been on a Comcast movie. I've been on HBO Max, all of these places, a lot of great places without paying a publicist. Now, I'm not saying a publicist is bad, but a lot of you don't understand what a publicist's role is. Some of you think you're going to pay a publicist and they're going to create your brand for you and be posting on social media and give you a media kit. No, no, no. They're not going to be doing any of that. You need to come to the publicist with some clarity. That's how you save money, right? So let's talk about the ladder effect and status roles and how this plays in. So I want you to picture a ladder. Okay, the ladder's going all the way up to the top of the roof. Let's say the top of the ladder is the goal. That's where you're trying to get. Whatever your biggest interview dream interview is. Years ago for me it was the Breakfast Club. So we're gonna assume everybody on this call is starting from the bottom. Even if you've gotten media coverage before, we're starting from the bottom. You climb up that ladder by using the previous step as leverage. So when I tell you start media coverage at your local NPR station, start media coverage at your local newspaper, because the thing is, your local newspapers, most of them are online now. So you can use that media coverage to push it out further. So years ago, I did a lot of op-eds and writing for small New Jersey newspapers that most of y'all have never heard of, the Trentonian, the Trenton Times. But here's the cool thing. Because I'm in Philadelphia and I was writing for those small outlets, people that were on the train from like Washington, D.C. to New York were picking up those papers. And so even though it was a small newspaper in New Jersey, because it was print and it was online, it was reaching more people. Some of y'all trying to skip the local stuff and just jump right to CNN or right to Breakfast Club or right to, national NPR, and it doesn't work like that. You need to get the small media coverage, and then you can use the smaller outlets to climb up the ladder, because now you have leverage. So if, I was on the Jill Scott podcast last year, okay? Jill Scott, the singer, legendary singer from Philadelphia. Now, I didn't have to pitch Jill Scott, but I'm just using this as an example, because once you get good at this stuff, you don't have to pitch anymore, because your brand is out there and people will find you when they're looking for your thing. Like if someone types in Black comics, I'm going to come up on the first or second page of Google, and Google is a big place. So what I am teaching you is so that your brand is that when people type in the keywords of your areas of expertise, you come up in Google. You come up on the first page in Google. I mean, you won the game right there. But it takes a while. It takes doing this work. So, but as an example, follow me. So let's say that I was going to pitch Jill Scott. Now I have leverage because I've been on the Breakfast Club and other amazing places like that. So when I email Jill Scott's producers, I'm going to say, hey, I've been on the Breakfast Club. I've been on the Tavis Smiley show, right? Because that's leverage. I don't just jump to the Breakfast Club from like Joe Smo's podcast, in Philadelphia. You can't do that. You use the steps to move up slowly, and the previous step is the leverage that you have for the next step until eventually you get to those really, really, really big platforms. That's why I always tell people, start with podcasts in your niche area that get you in front of a specific group. So you might start out with a podcast that only gets 1,000 downloads a month, but guess what? Next month you can get on one that gets 2,000 downloads a month. The next time you can get on one that get right, and then now you're just climbing up that ladder and using it as leverage. So by the time you do pitch your local NPR station, you're like, hey, I've been on all of these local podcasts. Some of them got millions of followers. The great thing about podcasts is one could have 1,000 downloads today, and a year from now they got 1 million, and you're already in the pipeline in the SEO is search engine optimization. You're already in their pipeline because you did their show a year ago. And that is the compounding effect of doing media coverage and putting the work in with the smaller outlets. The second thing that's critical to understand about media coverage is status roles. And you might be like, what do status roles have to do with any of this? Well, I already shared a little bit of it. Status is primitive. Okay, it's like hardwired into us. Status is emotional, and I'd argue status is even sometimes irrational. We make irrational decisions because of status. You buy that car you can't afford because it says something to the outside world. You buy that home that's just above your price point because it says something about who you are. People like this do things like this, right? You buy things that you can't afford all the time because it communicates something about who you are and what you stand for. And that is the foundation of getting high level media coverage, is status. The producer has to be convinced that you are of a certain status that matches the status of the types of guests that come on this show. If you can communicate that by using the ladder effect that I just taught you, then you are well on your way to being on bigger and better media outlets. When I decided I wanted to do a TEDx talk, so I had been asked to do a TEDx talk earlier, but I wasn't ready. And some of you might be like, "Oh, are you serious?" Yeah, because a TEDx talk is going to probably outlive you, and I view it as super important. It's your one time to make a down. But when I was ready, I put my system in place, and I teach this. If you go to my YouTube channel, I'll teach you how to do a TEDx talk. It's free. It's on there. But the reason I did my thing, I sent the email to get on the TEDx talk. I had to start out kind of just like everybody else in terms of finding the people to email, etc. But I landed the TED Talk within 24 hours because I had already implemented this letter effect. I had already communicated my status in the way that I pitched myself to the organizer. I had already put in 10 years of just building my brand. And so once you get there, it takes a while. You have to put in the work. You don't have to do these things anymore because people will be coming to you. Now I can just do high level media coverage, and I don't have to do the smaller podcasts because my brand is out there. People want to talk about the things that I stand for. They Google them, my name will come up, and that's how it works. So this is more conceptual. You want to take what we talked about and make it practical in the ways that you pitch yourself to media outlets and the ways that you put yourself out there. So I hope that was helpful. And the last slide, I know we're coming up on time, but this last slide, I mentioned the sales funnel. Okay, now the sales funnel has more than these 3 steps if you look them up online, but I distill it down to these 3 steps because these are really the 3 stages that you need to know. These are the 3 most important stages. And again, I don't like to turn academics off by talking to sales, even though what you are doing when you say you want more speaking engagements and to charge more and to, you want people to buy your books and all right? You have to learn sales. So here's the stages. There's brand awareness, brand trust, and brand customer. Brand customer is somebody buying something from you, someone paying me to do a speaking engagement. Brand awareness starts with all the stuff that we just talked about today. You have to be known to people. And so you become known to people by doing media coverage, doing TEDx talks, getting on your favorite podcast, writing op-eds, doing speaking engagement. All that stuff is brand awareness. Now, the top of the funnel is wide open because you don't always get in front of your exact target market, right? My Power Your Research content doesn't always get in front of tenured professors. It gets in front of a lot of people, but the diagram is showing that you funnel people down because once you get it right, that person that resonated with your content becomes a customer. So the reason why social media is important and you shouldn't be posting about Christmas dinner and your feelings about politics and the yacht that you were on is because you're breaking your trust with the audience that you say you want to serve. So take, for example, you go to my LinkedIn. I'm not talking about anything but academic branding. Next year, this time, I'm not going to be talking about nothing but academic branding. You can trust me. You leave for a couple of months, you come back to my LinkedIn. Sheena's still talking about academic branding. That's trust. I'm building credibility. I'm not going anywhere, right? Think about it in terms of just your everyday life. You know that your friend is an expert on something because you've been seeing them work in this field all the time. Now, your friend that's an electrician one day and then a plumber next year, and then now they're getting their real estate license. You're like, this person don't know what the heck they want to do. You don't trust them. You probably not having them fix your toilet because they were doing plumbing work for 6 months and now they be ripped. right? So your social media strategy is about building trust, and that is why for you to increase your visibility and income is to build trust. And once you build trust at the right time, the right message hits the right person, they become a customer. And this is super important too. And this is the last, but this is super important too. Think about you. Some of you are like, oh, nobody's buying my digital course. Think about how many times you get distracted. You in the middle of buying that course you want, and your wife walks in the room. You completely forget about that, or oh, you got to jump up and use the bathroom. You don't come and finish your purse. You forgot about it. Now, if that content creator is still posting about their course, the next day you see the content, you remember, oh, that's right, I was in the middle of a course. But if that content creator just started posting about something else, you completely forgot you were in the middle of buying. So that is the last slide. Thank you so much. I know I went right to the very end there, but happy to take questions if you have them. Thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to talking some more.
All right, I will give it up for Dr. Sheena Howard again with Power Your Research. And I guess we'll go ahead and field a couple of questions here. And I see that the first one, first hand that was raised was Dr. Constance Bailey. So go ahead and unmute your mic. You have the floor.
No, I apologize, Dr. Adolph. I was trying to find I was trying to hit the reaction button. I was clapping. So that is my
well, in that case,
Thank you.
Let me do a couple of thank yous real quick, and then I want to go in. I want to thank, first of all, I'm sorry, Michael Avalon, who works with Dr. Sheena Howard. He was amazing in getting her here, as well as Dr. Corey Fountain, Dr. Nicole Parsons Pollard, and of course the FADA exec board. You guys know who you are, and that sort of thing. And I want us to once again to open up the floor to discuss any ways that you guys want to figure out how to monetize whatever you are doing with academia. So I think I want to kick it off a little bit and start it off. You said something earlier where you said that earlier on in your career that you realized what you was doing was not aligned with your soul. And you talked about that. And I just want to know, could you just expand on that? What made you realize that I needed to branch beyond the classroom to establish my brand?
Yeah, so early on, I just kind of I saw that the research that was super important to me wasn't reaching people. And I just always, I'm a creative person, and I just always think about ways, I'm not doing all of this work to write a research article just for like 5 academics to cite my work. To me, that's not impactful. And of course, I did what I had to do to get tenure, and I got tenure quickly so that I had more freedom to do things that I love to do. And I my impact, and some of those talents are related to academia, but some of those talents are not, and that was just super important to me.
Other questions? Okay, go right ahead, Dr. Andrews.
Hi, thank you again for your talk. So for me, what's really interesting is I've been a consultant for a local school district in Atlanta for well over 10 years. I started when I was a grad student, and I would love to be a consultant full time, but how do you survive when it's a feast or famine? So I did it many years, and then came COVID, and by COVID, effectively, I lost my job, and then it's slowly coming back. But what do you do when you do have a brand, but your branding is based on external funding? It's almost like in academia where, school districts, they get money, you're good. They don't have money. How do you deal with the feast and famine, even when you have a good reputation, people like you?
Yeah. So, sometimes depending on who your target market is, they just don't have funds. So I'll give you an example. for my creative writers over on Instagram, writers and creative people tend to not have money. So I don't even promote my digital courses to them anymore because I know the target audience. Even if you were promoting a program to like college students, they don't have time or money to pay for it. So some of it is about your target market and maybe using your skills and area of expertise to tweak that a little bit. Because you can easily go from, hey, my target market was college students, but let me use the same thing and target their parents. So I don't know what your specific field is, but you may have to find a way to branch out from, the public school system to the for-profit market with your same set of skills if you can. The other thing is consulting is about word of mouth. And so once you get high income clients, if you do a good job for them and over deliver, they will refer you to other high income clients in their network. And this is how it works for me because I write books for CEOs and social impact companies. But on my journey to be able to charge $50,000 for the writing that I do for clients, I first had to understand that I had to start turning down clients that weren't paying me what I was worth. And that is a difficult thing to do when you want the money, when you're like, I need this money. I know I'm not charging what I'm worth now, and I don't want to give up this $5,000. I know it is under what I should charge, but you do have to make those tough decisions because the time that you spend not getting paid what you're worth is actually taking away from the time that you need to have in order to get those higher end clients. And so it's tough, it's tricky, but you can get there by being a little bit more selective, over delivering. I always have my clients put in a system. Hey, go back to your past clients, even the clients that you don't think paid you enough. Send them, you can do this with one of those Google forms. Send them a 5-question questionnaire. Ask them for referrals. Hey, who else do you know that might need the work that I do? Have them give you some referrals. But you also want to ask them questions in there about how well your work output was. Were they satisfied with the thing that you did for them? The only answer they should give you is yes. That's super important. And so going back to people that have already paid you, getting referrals so that you can move along in that word of mouth network is important. Because for consulting, you really don't even need a website if you have a specific audience and you over deliver to that audience and you stay in your audience's network and get those referrals. So that's what I would say about that without knowing, specifics.
Yeah, I work in STEM, so we'll always be hired, but it's just such a feast or famine when it comes to school districts. Because one year they have a lot of money, the next year, the reading scores are down, and it's just such a challenge. So,
yep, for sure.
Other questions, and by the way, Sean, Dr. Howard is from Philadelphia too. So Sean is a fellow Philadelphia. So
that's what's up, Philly, baby.
I do have a question though. How are you balancing academia and what you're doing? Like, I think so many of us are from Perimeter College and we are actually hired to teach. So many of us are on a 5-4.
Yeah.
Some people are teaching 6 classes and it really leaves almost, unless you just don't want a life, it leaves almost no room for stuff. And yeah, we're expected to do service, but to be honest, you'll work 24/7. So how are you balancing all this? Like, what would you recommend for us as far as like the work-life balance if we wanted to do this so that people don't find themselves just working all the time?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for that question. The first thing is to set boundaries. Most of us do not set enough boundaries. That's what that brand statement is about as well, setting boundaries, saying no to a lot more things. If you are in a position and safe place to say no, I'll tell you that, I have a 3-3 load. I am a single mom. I run 2 businesses that make over $200K in revenue a year. I'm a full professor, and setting boundaries is crucial. And what this looks like is, I have a Calendly link. You can use anything. Calendly is just my scheduling system. And, you have to get on my schedule, because my time is valuable. I make sure that I pick my son up from school every day. I drop my son off to school every day. After I pick my son up from school, that's his time. I make sure that I go to bed at 9:30 p.m. because I believe in 8 hours of sleep as well. As you said, a lot of people are entrepreneurs and they end up being sick in their 40s. So I make sure I get my sleep. I make sure I schedule in a massage every month. But it involves me setting clear boundaries. And honestly, I used to have friends that would schedule to hang out and they cancel the day before or the day of. And to be honest, I can't schedule outings with friends that do that. Yeah, because the time that I set aside for the whole day to hang out with you and you canceled the day before, I could have been with my son or doing something. So just kind of setting boundaries and being around people that respect those boundaries and being clear about what those boundaries are. I say no to things that don't align with my mission, vision, and purpose. I turn down financial opportunities if it does not align with my brand statement. I turn money down. Somebody asked me to write a book for $40,000 last year, and it didn't align with, what I'm here for. So I said no. So yeah, setting boundaries is key. I had to learn that. I was not a boundary setter. I had to learn that the hard way. But the only way that I can make this work is setting boundaries and asking for help. I think that a lot of really, really, really smart people, especially people of color, don't ask for help enough and are uncomfortable receiving that help. So I had to unlearn that. I am comfortable receiving help. That's why I have a booking agent. You can't book a speaking engagement with me unless you go through Mike, because Mike, I used to get speaking engagement requests and they would just sit in my email box. So having a team of people, I have a writing coach, I have a business coach. I have all of these different people that take the pressure off of me to do certain things. I do have an assistant that helps me as well. So all of those things, help me juggle it all.
You see, I think we have only a couple of more here. We got Sean, Dr. Williams from Philly, a fellow Philadelphian. So go right ahead, my brother.
Yeah, Central High School, by the way.
Oh, nice. Love that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll listen to what you said about setting boundaries. One of the challenges, though, as professors at certain institutions, the ones we need to set boundaries with are our academic, bosses,
Yep.
And so I kind of see myself sort of as at a crossroads now, because it's like the academic environment I'm in is not allowing me to fulfill my brand mission.
Yep.
So it's so do you have any advice in particular for how to make that transition out of academia? Because I feel like where I am is not fulfilling the academic mission I have. And it's not necessarily, and I don't necessarily want to go somewhere else to another institution, but I want to go where I can be of use, and so it's a matter of we're working and it gets in the way of the work we must do. So yeah, so how, any advice about making the transition to using our academic expertise to, because that's the thing though, that holding on, you got to have a, you got to pay bills, you don't get a chance to
that's right.
take that break.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great question. It depends on the limitations that your institution is putting on you. I know for a fact, some people that I work with, they're like, hey, like their institution has limitations on how many speaking engagements they can do and when they can do them, and they can't do them. Right. And so, but there's a scale, right? So I find that private universities are a lot more lax around this. My university is super supportive because the media coverage and visibility that I'm getting is actually helping them because I'm attached to Rider University. A lot of the clients I work with, they find that once they start getting media coverage and visibility, the media department is reaching out to them. Hey, what are you doing? There's an uptick on your profile page. What are we doing? How can we help you? And so there's a range in higher ed. So it depends on what the limitations are. What I teach is for you to keep your day job, do your job, say no to the things that you can say no to at your job while still doing your job. And that extra time is time that you're going to use to build your brand. So I can tell you that a lot of people, one of their biggest hiccups is time. I do not have enough time. But I promise you, you do have enough time if you get serious. Imagine if you can change somebody's life and they're out there waiting for you to change your life, but your excuse was you didn't have enough time. So here's the thing. I used to spend 2 hours on social media before I would fall asleep. So I would just scroll through social media from 9 a.m. to midnight, and then I would fall asleep. When I want to get things done, like I want to write a 50,000 word fiction book, I replace the social media time, which is useless, with time to write. So if you think about all of the times during the day, honestly, because you're not working 24 hours a day at your institution. If you really get honest with yourself and think about all the time during the day that you are wasting, you could have a part-time job. And the beautiful thing is the work I do, I don't have to leave the house that much, right? I write for clients. I have my digital courses for my creative writers. The Power Your Research stuff are all, Zoom calls and social media content. So I promise you, if you got serious with yourself, you could find time in your day. You could find probably 4 hours a day. And that's even a lot, but you could probably find 4 hours each day, and you could replace the time that you're wasting, 4 hours, to do something productive that aligns with your mission, vision, and purpose. And I had to get super clear and dedicated to the people that I serve and the people that I help, the people that are on this call, the people that will see this. I am serious about helping you, right? This is not, I am serious. And so when you get that sort of clarity, right, it just, it's like, I'm clear. I'm here, I'm showing up. And part of it, one of the things we teach, and this might help you, one of the things we teach is at the very beginning, when I talked about mindset on that roadmap, I don't know if you were here for that, but having a purpose statement. And people don't want to do the foundational work. Oh, purpose statement, all that's self-help stuff. No, a purpose statement is there to remind you when you say you're tired, is there to remind you of why you are doing this work. And it is personal to you. So when I do 6 sales calls for Power Your Research in one day, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel like getting on this call, my purpose statement kicks in. The reason why I'm doing it. And your purpose statement, it's not about the money. It's not about the income. Money is the outcome of the outcome. But my purpose statement, it will be personal to you, right? Is what kicks in when I'm like, I'd rather just lay here for an hour and just scroll through Instagram. My purpose statement kicks in. No, I need to be doing something productive so that I can live out my legacy, my mission, my purpose, and help the people that are relying on me to show up consistently. So that is what I would say. And I did little things. Like I used to teach summer classes all the time just for the extra income, like the extra overload income. I don't teach summer classes anymore. I do my purpose work. I do my academic branding stuff. I do my writing, right? And so, like I said before, giving up some of that easy income, like picking up an extra overload and picking up an extra summer class, saying no to that, and working on your brand building, working on the people that you can serve and help, working on the people that, quite frankly, deserve to know that you and your work exist so that you can change their life. That's how I think about it.
All right. Thanks. And then I think we have one more. And then I just want to share out of the niche statement that you have. Just share the one that I worked on while the assignment.
Yeah, I saw it. That was good.
So I want to go give a question for Dr. Glover, and then I'll share mine. And then I think that'll probably wrap us up. So Dr. Glover, the floor is yours.
Dr. Howard, thank you so much for sharing all this with us tonight. And As someone who has a, 2 small children under 5, I really appreciate your discussion around boundaries
Shout out
and
to the
your
kids.
and your vulnerability around the giving up the summer classes. So this will be my first summer not doing that. And I'd like to hear you talk about what you think is the fastest route. And I probably shouldn't be using the term fastest, but I'm going to use
Yeah.
that term. What is the fastest route to monetize this summer with what you've shared? And thank
Good
you.
question. Okay, good question. So that's a good question, and you know the answer. There is no quick way to monetize. You gotta put in the work. You do have to build the brand because you got to build the credibility. You got to get in front of, depending on what your area is. I had to work up to being able to write for people like DMC. I had to work up. I used to sell books out of my trunk. Now I can walk into Barnes and Noble and they are in Barnes and Noble without me having to place them there. But the quickest way is on that slide. If you want to talk about quick, sell one thing to one person through one channel. You do not need to be on all the social media accounts. Be on the one where your audience is and the one where you feel comfortable. As I said before, my Power Your Research stuff is only on LinkedIn. I'm not talking about it on Instagram. I do tweet about it a little bit. My sales funnel is through LinkedIn. I'm talking, if you have a program or something like that, you need to be able to clearly communicate the transition. If somebody's going to spend money on your thing, how are they going to transform from where they are right now to where they want to be? I can tell people, if you join Power Your Research, you will go from where you are today to having a 6-figure brand. You will have the roadmap. You will have media coverage. You can see the transition. So whatever you have, clearly demonstrating what the transition is, and increase your prices. The quickest way to make more money is to increase your prices. And this is a big one. This is something we talk about in mindset, but my business coach told me when I first met him, it takes just as much energy to sell a $300 program as it does to sell a $3,000 program. And that is true. So you're going to sit there and do the math. I got a $300 program. All I need is 10,000 people to spend $300 and I'm rich. It doesn't work like that. So increasing your prices is the quickest way to make more money. Some of this is mental because you have to do the work to convince yourself that you are worth that. You already are worth that because you have the credentials and you have the proof, but you have to convince yourself that you are worth that, because you need to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, my program is $3,000, and know that your program is worth $3,000, right? So that's what I would say. Increase your prices. Work on the mindset stuff so that you are comfortable increasing your prices. Sell one thing to one person through one channel. Get a coach. Hire a coach. You need a coach.
All right. And I just want to say for all of those who joined the FADA, I met Dr. Howard actually through LinkedIn. And this knew that she had an amazing energy that needed to be brought to the FADA space, because I want to see us all monetized. I want to see us be able to go outside of the world of academia. And I just want to kind of share for those who missed earlier, she had a niche that was like, I create to feel when there. And I just want to say that I followed the assignment, and I just said, I create opportunities for fatherless fathers to feel empowered when they're breaking generational traumas.
That is so good.
So that's my life, or my life mission, and that sort of thing. And if you want to find more about how to power your research and that sort of thing, Dr. Howard, if you could please share where FADA members can get in contact with you and find out more information about how to power their research.
Yes, for sure. So you can go to poweryourresearch.com. I'm also going to just drop a link in the chat real quick so you can jump on, a free call with me. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to me for 30 minutes, but poweryourresearch.com, and this link right here that I'm going to drop in the chat. You can book a call with me right there. I'd be happy to talk to you, hear about your goals and what you're trying to do. But LinkedIn as well is a great place if you want to get some free helpful content on a daily basis.
So again, thank you, Dr. Howard, so much. This is excellent, excellent. Thank you to my FADA family, and like I said, your Mike, if you watch this video, thank you for helping. And again, Dr. Fountain, Dr. Parsons Pollard, and the FADA Exec Board. Thank you all so much. You were amazing. Of course, Dr. Howard, you were amazing. And please contact Dr. Howard at poweryourresearch.com or the link. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sean. See you later, my man.
All right. See you later.
All right.
I'm typing and stuff. Take care.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Well, I'm glad. Hopefully, we could talk about brand building and that sort of thing, outside the university, because I'm with you. I'm looking at the same thing that you. I know. I love Perimeter, don't get me wrong. I love working with my students, but I know that it's a bigger calling. So
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
get that. So
Yeah.
we need to just explore that. And so we can take care of our mental and spiritual health and also do the creative things that God has placed on us to do. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a good day, my man. Take care.
All right. And thanks for reaching out to me a second time, because I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's somewhere I'm supposed to be. So, so
Not
thanks for that.
a problem. Take care.
All right. Take care.